Hello and welcome. Today we've got David Mahoney, and today he's going to be discussing that he's recently just come back from Vietnam to investigate the currency reset and also to talk about the worldwide economic changes. Now, just before we begin, you can subscribe to my Instagram channel at nicholas.veniamin for all my daily newsreels. David, thank you so much for joining me. How are you and what have you been up to?
Oh, I've had a busy few weeks, Nick. We've had to delay our little bi-weekly chat because of the time difference. And excuse the casual, laid-back approach to today's show, Nick. But I actually literally got back at 6:30 this morning. I took a 13-hour flight directly from Hanoi in Vietnam into Heathrow. So I've got a couple of days in the UK just taking care of a few things. But for the sake of the audience, I've just spent 3 weeks traveling through Southeast Asia on several missions. I had a spiritual mission, which I did, and then I was also investigating these countries that the currencies are about to reset, mainly the Vietnamese dong, the Cambodian economy, and also maybe so much in Thailand. A lot of tourism in Thailand, so people aren't too concerned about it, Nick. But don't seem to be jet lagged yet. But this is only day one; it might come later. How you been?
I've been really good. I'm just, I'm back and forth from Miami because I like to be involved with the US politics.
Yeah.
Um, and also I've got a wonderful girlfriend. If you follow me on Instagram, you can see who she is. She's amazing, lovely girl.
I've said hello to her. I've seen it. Yeah. I've said hello
Yeah.
to her. You're a lucky
Um,
man, mate.
yeah, she's lovely. And so tell me what's going on with Vietnam. Why did you go to Vietnam? What was it exactly you found from the currency reset, and how
I,
close do you think we are?
I don't know. This is a good question. But I saved the best to last. I started in Thailand. Then I went down into Cambodia. I went across into Malaysia, down into Singapore, and then from Singapore into Vietnam. But we'll start with Vietnam because the Vietnamese dong is one of the currencies that we've all been talking about. I have dong at home. I've had it for a few years now. But what I found interesting there's some little telltale signs of how things are going. And one of the telltale signs I found, Nick, is that most of the restaurants and bars, they've shaved all the zeros off all the prices. So, for example, 2 million, no, yeah, 2 million dong is about 75 quid in pounds, about $100. But they don't write 2 million, they'll just write 200, and everybody knows it's 2 million. So they're already getting the natives and the residents used to this idea, because the best way to revalue a currency when you are talking in the millions, like Turkish lira, for example, was another one, is just to shave off all of these zeros. The Iraqi dinar is probably going to do the same thing. So they're already getting the public used to this idea, I found. So that was point number one, which made me go, that's interesting, because nobody uses the exact amount. And there's space on the menus and everything, which is just not on there. And then the other point is, we've been led to believe, Nick, that these countries such as Southeast Asia, Cambodia, Vietnam, are all emerging third world, struggling into the second world, and they all need this boosting from the currency to reset. But I can tell you this: the cities that I went in Vietnam, they're all driving nice cars, and the cars in Southeast Asia have got massive taxes on it. You $30,000 for a Toyota in America, it would be 65 or 70,000 in these countries. There is a lot of foreigners there, a lot, and I'm not just talking in sections. In Hanoi, everywhere I looked, there's foreigners, and they're a mixture of young people and older people, and then retirement people. It's super safe. I didn't have one single issue with who's that following me or anybody that I thought might be suspicious. The security aspect of Southeast Asia was a massive surprise, because we've always been led to believe that, there's some gang member with his machete hanging around an alley waiting for you, but absolutely not at all. And this is for the sake of anybody who hasn't been to Vietnam. The people, Nick, are absolutely amazing, super friendly and super respectful, very educated. A lot of them speak English very well. And they have small little traits, that they bow and say hello. Like the Thais and the Cambodians are always like this with their hands. The Vietnamese just do one sort of longer bow, and then they'll say, "Would you like to come and try my restaurant for dinner, son?" You say, "No, thanks. I've eaten already." They say, "Okay." They don't hassle you. They're very respectful about people's privacy, and they don't like to bother people. So all in all, I think eyes on Vietnam, because when that country does revalue, I think it's going to be a fantastic place. It's safe. The weather's nice. The food's good. The people are very friendly and genuine. I was in 3 different cities, and here's the other thing: the airports are all mobbed. I mean, Hanoi last night when I got there, I was like, "Oh my god, it's going to take me 6 hours to check in." But I used my air miles off all my Amex cards, and I got a business class upgrade. So I just went around the side, and I was, okay. But the Asians coming from all over the place and foreigners, I couldn't believe it. It looked like an August bank holiday weekend at an airport, and that's Vietnam, and very very cheap. Taxis are cheap to run around in, and the food was cheap. What did I do? I took a driver for the whole day, and then that was like $90 for the whole day from 9 in the morning till 8 o'clock at night, and that was with a 5-star hotel organizing it. So that would have been $400 anywhere else in the world, more $500. But great country, fantastic people. And then the other one, which was a big surprise, Nick, was Cambodia, because nobody really talks about Cambodia. The only time you get a lot of people going there to see Angkor Wat, which I went to. But one of my other missions I had to go there was to the killing fields, which is basically Cambodia's Auschwitz, where in the Khmer Rouge days, there was a communist dictator called Pol Pot, and he murdered, in turn, 2.5 million people in the country. And I wanted to go to this place as part of the spiritual mission, which was very moving. So that was interesting. And Thailand, again, nice cars everywhere, lovely people. But I was disappointed with the condition of the beaches, because I found that there was a lot of debris and trash floating in the water there on one of the islands I went to. So that's a little bit concerning, because for tourism, you'd like to go where there's beautiful beaches. Have you been anywhere up there, Nick? Have you been to Thailand?
Never been on that side of the world.
No, it was very very interesting, and so I started in Thailand. I had 5 days there. Then I went down to Cambodia. Again, the Cambodian people were exceptionally friendly, educated, nice, polite people. Bowing, can't do enough for you. Actually, you feel a little bit guilty, because they're not trying to get money out of your pocket. They're just genuinely really curious and nice.
Yeah. So what was your main takeaway from this trip? What's your main takeaway that you'd like
My
to share?
main, well, actually, there was a few of them. The main takeaway from this was how we've been led to believe that Asia is such a developing market, and they're all living in subhuman conditions, and they're struggling, and how unhappy they are, and everybody wants to leave these countries, and they all want to immigrate. The people there are happy, Nick, and this old school mentality from the industrial military complex about, let's take Vietnam. When the Vietnam War happened, America invades and they're trying to take it over and stop communism. It didn't happen. It didn't work, because these people are happy with what they've got, and they're family orientated, and they're not interested in McDonald's and hamburgers and Pepsis. They're very traditional. They still wear the traditional clothes there.
Why did the Vietnam War happen? Do you think it was to keep their currency low?
Well, no, it was actually at the time, there was a lot of countries that were being communist takeovers, and it was really, America went in with good intentions, but now we know that the deep state, the cabal, were just in there because they need a war, because they make money with the war. I was still walking around and seeing craters, bomb craters. Went to some temples, and I saw these large holes. I was like, that's a bomb crater, because one of the temples, all the soil from when the bomb exploded, it threw all the debris all over one of the temples. I said, yeah, that's one. That's one the area, and that was in Hanoi, which is in the middle, which is the south, where they weren't supposed to really be bombing it. Cambodia, Nick, here's a terrible thing about Cambodia. Do you remember when Princess Diana was always going on about landmines, and she was trying to stop them and outlaw them? So there's still people in Cambodia with missing arms and missing legs from landmines that were laid in the 70s and the 80s. And it's such a horrible, devastating weapon, because they'll bury it and forget where they buried it. And This one guy came up and he literally had no hands. Each hand on his arm was gone, and half of his leg had been blown off as well. And he came up with a bag round, I don't know the real word, but stumps, you know. He came up with a bag looking for a few dollars. And he was the happiest man I've ever met in my life. He was jumping around, smiling, welcome Vietnam, welcome Cambodia, where you from, you know. So we gave him some money, but he was happy with what he's got. And here we are in the West all worrying about parking tickets and, you know, I've got to get to work on time. And these people. And what made me talk about landmines is that recently the USA, the Biden administration, authorized the sale of old landmines to the Ukraine. And it's such a devastating, terrible weapon, because when the war's over, these guys that I saw there, now they're in their 30s, were kids playing in the dirt in the jungle, you know, and then boom, a landmine goes off. They kill and maim and injure so many innocent people. And what the Biden administration did was absolutely disgraceful by authorizing the sale of, they weren't even modern ones, they were older ones that they've been sitting around for 2 or 3 decades. And then Malaysia's a strange one too, because it's actually Muslim. So you've got all these Indonesian looking people, but they've all got headscarves on. But again, very friendly. We've all been led to believe, oh, don't go to a Muslim country, it's dangerous. But they were very friendly, very nice. You can move around everywhere there. And I went into Kuala Lumpur, immaculately clean city, a huge city in Asia. Again, the economy's got so many zeros on all the notes, you don't know what you're spending. But these people that we've been told need, like the whole American idea, oh, you know, these people need our help. It's all bullshit, because the people are absolutely fantastically healthy and happy, traditional, still wearing the same clothes as they've done for generations and generations. The natural organic music that they use, the traditional music, is there. So I was shocked at how much we've been led to believe one thing, but it was the other. For example, Tucker Carlson in Russia last week, he says, let's go to the supermarket. You know, these starving Russian supermarkets where there's nothing to eat in there. They're chock-a-block with stuff. All the shelves are full from products from all over the place. Russians aren't starving. The Indonesians and Southeast Asians don't want that huge American influx of, you know, just Walmart and these huge industrial supermarket chains selling everything. You know, there's a woman on the street with fresh fish. There's a woman down there with fresh meat. There's vegetables and fruits everywhere, all being transported around by bicycle. These traditional ways of people have been living, it's so refreshing to see, and we don't see it because, again, the cabal and all of their dirty tricks has pushed all the mom and pop businesses out. When your local butcher, your local baker, the fruit shop, they pushed them all out to push people in these great big Walmart and what's the other one? I thought Costco's another huge conglomerate.
Yeah,
you know?
we need more private family businesses so we could support them, and we know it's clean. They're not going to take over, you know, our foods and put whatever ingredients they want in there and give us parasites. Yeah. So that's why this is what happens when they push down the middle class and then they take over. And they're trying to do that everything with properties, with food. They're trying to do it with everything, you know, with a big pharma.
It's absolutely got to stop, because the food down there is really good. Everyone's eating street food, you know, because it's fresh. The vegetables, you literally pick them straight from the trees and then they're transported there. And then, you know, coconut water is another. The coconut water is so good for you. It's a natural, the electrolytes and that. It's a huge booster for your immune system. So I think the bottom line, if I could walk away with anything, I was shocked at how unwesternized they are, yet the societies function so well, and the people, there's no obese people down there, Nick. You don't see huge diabetic, massive, large, obese people in Asia. You don't see them, and they're very respectful. It's very safe.
Because we're inflamed. What we're eating, it's the ingredients, and they're not just the calories. It's the flammable, poisonous chemicals they're putting in our foods, and they don't have that. And this is why they tell us they're poor. They're not doing very well. I believe you've got a few videos that you'd like to share with viewers.
I want to share. Let me give me a screen share. This is a fun one. I'm going to share this one with you first because There's a place in Hanoi, right? There's a place in Hanoi, and it's these train tracks that they have these little cafes next to, and there's quite a famous little tourist spot. Hang on, let me go back. I'm going to make it larger. I've got to stop that first. But wait, this is the famous street. Wait. Sorry, Nick, the video played by itself. So, health and safety, they try to control everything in the UK and America. Oh, you can't do that. You got to put a hat on, put a mask on. Why aren't you wearing a mask? You need the right shoes. You can't do that. In Asia, people just get on with what they want to do and people leave them alone. So, there's a street in Hanoi where a train goes through 4 times a day. And it's quite a big tourist spot. So this is my experience. I got there just by accident at 5 minutes before the train goes. Watch this. This is the famous street where there's a train line. And we've been invited to have a seat here. So let's see what happens. There's a train that runs straight down the middle between all these cafes about 4 times a day. Here in Hanoi, in the north of Vietnam. Have a look at this. I'm here to see this. They've opened up the tracks, but I don't see it yet. But I'm sure it's coming. You see, now what they do is they put everything back on the line. All the tourists, they all come and sit down again. Nice and comfortable frontline trailway.
Crazy. Wow.
Frontline train, everybody comes straight back out again. Business continues. Well, that was one of the most insane things I've seen for a tourist attraction.
Wow.
But people love it.
I definitely couldn't do an Instagram reel on those tracks.
Yeah, and I'll show one other one. I went to, each country has its own craziness. I want to show you. Let me see what else I've got. There's one here of the temples that are so beautiful, Nick. And again, it's gonna be. Oh, you know what? It's gonna be here. I can use this one. Yes, I'm just gonna bring it up. It's actually on my BitChute channel, but it's such a beautiful experience. And again, people say, "Oh, don't go down there, Asia. It's dangerous, and you're gonna get murdered." Let me see. Bear with me. What happened? What's it doing? All right. So let me go back in the Zoom. I'm ready now. Yeah, I've never been to Asia. It was an experience for me too, because I just wasn't pulled or drawn towards it. But I had a reason to go this time. This is all the temples, Nick. I put it all into one nice video.
Oh, lovely architecture.
Yeah, why is it doing this now? Add. That's odd. There we go. Now, this is more like it. This is the sort of stuff I love. This is straight from a film set. They actually used this in Tomb Raider, this temple. But the beauty and natural surroundings. Look, you got these trees that are growing straight up out of the temples. It's absolutely fantastic. Sun's just coming up. The temperature's just right. This is the sort of stuff that you fly thousands of miles to come and see and feel. Yeah. Some more. Ay, míralo. He's very cute. Todo.
Oh.
How's that? Get that in. A little bit more. This is Angkor Wat, one of the massive attractions there. Oh, this is interesting. Let me get close to the camera so we can hear it. These guys are all local musicians, but they've all had incidents with landmines. So they're missing arms, fingers, legs, hands. So what they do is they get together. Instead of begging, they do this in the tourist area. So we're going to go and drop them some money. You see any of the stones around me there? How's it framed? You remember the movie Tomb Raider?
I mean, how old is this architecture?
2,500 years.
I think it could be more.
Yeah, they don't actually know on some of it. I spent 3 days looking at the temples and tombs, temples and places of worship. There wasn't any tombs.
We definitely had another civilization that had the technology to build this.
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, they've been lying to us. They tell us the first electric drill was just 100 years ago.
No, well, you can see there's holes in the stones as well. I asked them about these holes, and they said it's when they were moving them, they were using wooden block and tackle, but the cutting is just too precise. And there was another tomb in Vietnam that was just made with bricks with no mortar, just really flat red bricks. But this stuff is brilliant because they've used it in quite a few films, you know. Tomb Raider with Angelina Jolie was one of them. And it's mixed with Hindu and Buddhist because the influence from India. You've got Shiva, which got a lot of arms, and there's Kali. There's a few goddesses carved on there. So India is quite a long way from Cambodia. This is incredible. Look, this tree is growing straight. Let me take that wider into the temple.
That's crazy. Wow. I've never seen anything like that.
I was taken back by it as well. That's the ceiling, which is, I like that effect. I'll spin the camera.
Yeah.
And the tree just growing up. I mean, the tree's probably 200 years old. I've just seen something interesting. I'm going to go and have a look. Bring the camera in. Just follow me in. Because the architecture here is super interesting. Don't fall over. Super interesting. What's great is all of the Hindu influences here, you see? All on the outside. But it's also mixed with Buddhism. So both cultural influences are in the architect here. Small little temple, this. Priests used to use this.
Wow, look at that.
Angkor Wat. Angkor Wat is a little bit repetitive. It's just a huge complex that was built over several generations, several kings actually. But we went there at sunup in the morning. The sun comes up out of the jungle as the mist burns off. It's spectacular.
They tell us it
on
was
this wall, which is very interesting. I didn't know this, but I didn't think Buddhism talked about hell. But in the top we have the heaven, where all the beautiful women are and the food, and it's nice and peaceful. In the middle is a servitude of what we're doing. See how it's all duplicated, every single person doing the same thing. This is our daily lives here. And then obviously we have some royalty figures in the center here. But underneath it is hell. And in hell you can see they're being tortured, murdered, chopped with knives. Look at this group of people here with chains around their neck as slaves. I didn't know that Buddhism had their interpretation of hell. I thought it was a biblical thing.
Could be
And
the
as you
state
can
of
see on the
mind.
ones on the bottom, this particular form now has been touched and rubbed by so many people that it's totally different to the top ones here. That's because the people are shorter, really, isn't it? The smaller. But interesting. Heaven, where we are now, and hell. All I think we're nearly at the end now, Nick. It was a 6-minute video. I thought it was a shorter one. And this isn't from burning. Some of the temples, they cut a lot of the heads off. It's time to say goodbye to Cambodia. And what an experience this place has been. I mean, I knew what I was in for when it came to the temples, but not the energy of the people and the country. It's a place that surprised me on quite a few different levels. The hospitality and the childlike curiosity and simple friendliness. There's countries you go to that are trying to get money out of your pocket being a tourist. Here, they were just genuinely nice. Just wanted to spend time with you. It's been an experience I won't forget in a while. And there's a sadness that's come over me this morning, having to say goodbye. So let's see, will I be back? I'm not sure. But for the time being, there's always going to be a little bit of Cambodia inside me because of the work I've done here and the emotional content that I've immersed myself in. So temples and tears. Good stuff, eh?
Oh, amazing. That was really good. Very, very
now,
good.
I've got one more. Have we got time for one more?
Go for it.
You want to cut it there? I've got one more, but I'll pre-warn you. You know some of the heavy work I've done when I've been decoding Nazis and battlegrounds. The next one was about the killing fields. It's my last day here. So let me just
see it.
I'm going to put it on pause. I'll go back in there. Now, this is a place which was the Cambodian. Currently sitting in a tuk-tuk. I'm on my own, and I'm heading to a place which is going to be very heavy. Super interesting. And that's the killing fields. Now, a lot of these sites spread out through Cambodia, but there's a local one where it's a mass grave of 8,000 people that were murdered by the Khmer Rouge communist campaign by Pol Pot. I'm already starting to get into that zone where I need to sort of put up the protection barrier of light around me, and let's see what happens. I'm expecting heavy, heavy stuff. It's probably the heaviest one I've been on. Well, guys, approaching the killing fields in the tuk-tuk, the energy swept over me like a wave. I started getting weepy-eyed straight away. I could feel it, so I made the mistake of not switching on the protection barrier early enough. No harm done there. The first thing they do is they take you in to see an exhibition of paintings about the horrific tortures they did, like removing their gallbladders before they died, and they were giving them to the leaders of the Khmer Rouge. For some reason they thought they were good for health reasons. The I can't even tell you, it's horrific. I'd never heard of tortures like that before. I'm not even 10% in, and already I'm having to put that great big white light in. This is way worse than what I did with the Nazis in Germany. That was heavy, but this is heavier. Behind me is one of the prison huts, which I'm going to go into next, but just wanted to get this quickly down and share how this first entry minute came, because it was like, what? I had to buy the ticket and go back outside and then ask for permission to come in on the spiritual level, because there's a lot of sadness here, a lot of sadness. So we'll continue and we'll see what else hits me. These painting representations were done by a man that was held in the prison. This is his whole story. Sumrithi. He was a motorbike mechanic and transported around several different locations in this area, beaten, abused, witnessed. I mean, horrific, horrific things. So the area I've just come from is one of places where there's mass graves. And one of the things I do is I kind of do the sweeping as I move through these areas. I kind of sweep everything with my hands out. And this time, as soon as I came around that corner, again, overwhelming sadness, a wave came at me. So I'm going to continue walking through this entire site and just sweeping it, pushing all the energy I can into one place, and then I'll deal with whatever is in there, good or bad. But it's extremely moving, and there's now little houses here. There are families living here, and there's a monastery. So it has turned into a place of peace, but holy cow, I've never experienced anything like this before. Jesus, this is terrible. As soon as I put my hands out, the tears start. And as you can see by the skulls here, I'm going to sweep around anti-clockwise on this one. Sweeping as I go. These are all the skulls and bones that people found. It's so heavy. The sadness. They understand this. I can feel their souls understand. But it's the sadness that's hard to deal with. They're not confused here. They know what happened. But the souls of these people are very innocent and very young, I feel. And they know what happened. But they're just very sad about what happened. They suffered so much, and ultimately for nothing. Heavy, heavy, heavy. Well, they've built this large area of shrines and temples amongst all of this pain and misery. So what's interesting about here is behind me there's a well. You can see it just there where they threw how many corpses? 50 to 60 people down that well. And at the end of sweeping through this killing fields zone, Cambodia, you always need a place where you have to go and do the final ceremony where you invite the souls in and send them on. And what's always interesting is when you locate it, it's always busy. It's always people trying to block you and stop you. You got to sit them out. It happens all the time. So this is it. This is the spot where I have to do the final ceremony. And how this works is you invite the souls in, and if they'd like to step into the light vortex, you'll then send them on to wherever they're supposed to go. And obviously, this is a Buddhist country, so they believed in something different to what we believe in. But is it so different, really? Promised land, a paradise, eternal life after death, Valhalla. It's been an extremely moving experience, this heavy experience. But I'm pleased that my life, I've had the opportunity to come here and do what I can to help these souls go to a better place after experiencing so much hardship, misery, pain, and torture. But it's time to send them home to the loved ones. As I leave this beautiful country, Cambodia, with fond memories of its smiling, happy, friendly people, it's hard to imagine that just a few short years ago, 2 million people were dragged from their homes, interned into camps, and brutally tortured and murdered. Mankind is capable of such beautiful things, but such brutal things as well. Oh, that's even got me emotional re-looking at that now. I haven't looked at it since.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that as well. Felt the sadness of those.
Yeah.
So what year did that happen?
It was it happened over a space of between about 1974. He started getting into, there's the tears coming now. The Pol Pot went to China and he started getting the idea in the 50s, and he was finishing his education in Paris. Cambodia was a French colony at one time. And then by the mid 70s, he was back at it and he managed to take power of a couple of provinces. And it was basically, he was trying to turn it into a communist state. And he just walked in and just anybody that didn't give him what he wanted, he basically just dragged them and put them in camps.
So why do they have those skulls and bones displayed like that? Is it for respect? What is it for?
It's for respect, and also to remember that this is a memorial. It's very grim. They have a different aspect of the Buddhists. They believe in reincarnation. So those were all excavated from that area, and there's other areas that they didn't dig up. So they've built over most of the bodies, but the place by the well, there was just all these human remains found, and they left them. They just put a box around it with a glass case on it. And then the monks over the time have been clearing the land. They've found all these femur bones and skulls, and they put them in one central place, which it's not really a tourist attraction. I mean, it's not the place that tourists go. There were only about 3 or 4 of the foreigners there when I was there, but it's a memorial to what happened, and people need to remember, and it's their way of dealing with it. There's another one in the south. Phnom Penh is the other one, but that's the biggest one. I didn't go down there because that's kind of where everybody goes. That's just a small one, but there was a few of these around the place, and it was the hardest place I've ever been to in that energy, Nick. It was just terrible. But you know what? The worst thing is the innocence of. Here's what the real emotion is. I'll end the broadcast on that. It was imagine a child being killed because they're such sweet, innocent souls, but they're in adult bodies. They're kind of naive and sweet and want to know more. So it was just, that was the energy of all these children, like energy. They weren't kids. There were kids killed as well, but there was this childlike, innocent, friendly curiosity energy. Oh, yeah, it's okay. It's okay. They killed me, but it's okay. I'm all right now. I'm okay. That was that innocence. So they just let it go. These people weren't angry about what happened to them. The souls are not angry. They weren't confused. They were just sad. It's like, okay, we're going to be all right. Don't worry. It was the strangest one yet, because the other places I've been to, their soldiers killed in battle. They were looking for it. They joined up, these sort of fortresses and ancient battlegrounds I've been in and decoded a different energy. But that was an exceptionally moving place. But Cambodia, man, what a beautiful country. And the sadness involved there, and how the people can get over such a traumatic scar in a recent living memory. People in the 60s, it was 40 years ago, they remember. And yet they're forgiving and nice and welcoming foreigners. And, they're such a beautiful race of people, I found.
Yeah, no, of
So
course.
sorry it was a bit heavy, that, but I think it's
No,
important for us to realize about how bad humanity can be, but how beautiful it is and how we can heal. If we do come together as not being divided by what the cabal and they all want to do. The dark wants to divide us all and keep us all fighting and hating each other, but it shouldn't be like that.
no, of course. But David Mahoney, thank you so much for sharing that with us. It's very sensitive. And also the information on your trip to Vietnam with their currencies. And I'm going to leave a link below so that people can get a Vietnamese currency as well as the dinars. But David, is there anything else that you'd like to say to the viewers before we finish?
No, if you want to see more of my travels throughout Southeast Asia, you go to my BitChute channel. There'll be a link on Nick's show here. You can have a look there, and we'll see you on the next one. But things are happening, mate. And don't believe what they tell you about these foreign countries. They're peaceful, nice, safe, and friendly. And I encourage anybody who wants to go and have a look, do it. Don't be concerned about what you're reading and watching on the news. It's all lies. They're beautiful places, and they're out there for you to explore and experience for yourself.
No, absolutely. Well, thank you very much, David. And we'll speak again very soon. Bye bye.
Thank you, Nick. Bye-bye, mate.